so far I'm not seeing it yet. Oh, wait. Modesto Church of the Brethren was? Oh, July 26th.
No, we're live. Yep, and I'm up on the screen right now.
I'm getting there. I'm getting
Hi,
there.
guys. Good morning, everyone.
That's fine. I have to get back to my screen right now.
Yeah, so I'm seeing this right here. So we're good.
Could you even stop for a second just to pick up the pieces
I had troubleshooting, right? Oh, now it's back to the music.
You're losing faith in your power to change.
Is it okay?
No, it's the screen, it's the music, it's not it's not the PowerPoint. Yeah, next to the PowerPoint again.
Google Chrome, Worship for August.
Is that
the PowerPoint?
Yeah, now I'm showing the PowerPoint.
Just take a leap of faith, take a step and learn how to live and love. Gotta hope and trust.
I'm glad that everyone can make it here. This is my question.
Thank you, Kelly.
Inside, who would ever know if you don't let it show? Even when you think that you are at the end, and that rope that you hold less than, keep holding on, keep holding on. Then decide to break free and fix your eyes on this love that you cannot hide. Even when your heart breaks, know that the sun's still gonna shine. If ever you feel just like you are not enough, listen to your heartbeat, listen to your heart speak. And when words are not enough, just take a leap of faith, take a step and learn how to live in love. Gotta hope and trust in all the mystery that you will find. Uncover the truth, there's more than meets the eye.
You guys, this is going to be hilarious every time I share the screen, waiting for me to find where the right screen is again. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. This is really weird to be talking to you all and not seeing you all. So just bear with me on that. Thank you for your patience. This is, of course, the worship service for the Modesto Church of the Brethren. And wherever you are, near or far, longtime member, first-time visitor, wherever and whoever you are, we are very happy to be with you here today. Pastor Andrew is on vacation for the next week. So my name is Anna Hazen, and so I get to spend this time with you, which I'm really happy about. Thank you for the opportunity. As we enter into this time together, let's just take a moment to center ourselves. I know I need that. Not sure about you, but I'm probably not the only one who could use taking a deep breath and feel your connection with everything around you, with the community, stretching out over time and space, with your body, right here and now, with God, and with God's perfect love within you and around you. To help us center ourselves, I'm going to read Stephen Mitchell's adaptation of Psalm 16. Oh, wait a minute. I was supposed to do announcements too. Maybe I'll do that afterward. Oh, well. Okay. Unnameable God, I feel you with me at every moment. You are my food, my drink, my sunlight, and the air I breathe. You are the ground I have built on and the beauty that rejoices my heart. I give thanks to you at all times for lifting me from my confusion, for teaching me in the dark and showing me the path of life. I have come to the center of the universe. I rest in your perfect love. In your presence, there is fullness of joy and blessedness forever and ever. Amen. Elaine, Maddie, and Linda were nice enough to record music for us, so please join in our opening song, Here in This Place. Thank you, Elaine, and Maddie and Linda. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was such an appropriate song, I think, when it talks about the fire of love in our flesh and our bones and being gathered in this very place, not just within a building, not in some heaven light years away, but right here, even if we're not literally, physically together. So now Kim is going to share our reading for today. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Anna. And thank you for your comments. I agree. I'm reading today from Matthew chapter 14, verses 13 through 21. This passage will likely be very familiar to most of you. So I invite you to listen to it as an old familiarity, but also listen with new ears. Now, when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them and cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now late. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." They replied, "We have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And he said, "Bring them here to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples. And the disciples gave them to the crowds. And all ate, and all were filled. And they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children.
Thank you, Kim. And now it is time for the kids and the young at heart to gather around with Matt, Sarah, and Emily. I'm going to unmute you. Can I unmute you?
Hello. Well, welcome everyone, young and old, to Children's Time. I really love the Bible story that Kim just shared with us. It's actually one of my favorites. And another thing that I really love to do since I was very little was play with Legos. And so we have Legos here in the house, quite a number of them. And I thought today we would try to build a really, really high tower, because that was what I used to do, is see how high I could build my Legos up into a very high tower. So Sarah and Emily, I've given you each a pile of Legos, and we each have 6. And I'd like us to start by seeing who can build the highest tower. So if you would put your Legos on here, go ahead and see who can build the highest tower. So, well, are you gonna build your own? You're gonna build Daddy's. You're gonna make Daddy's the highest? Daddy's can be the highest if you want. There you go, everybody. You're gonna build your own. Build your own. See how high you can make your tower. See how high you can make your own tower. Oh my gosh, you both already passed me. Okay, wow. So who won?
I did.
Oh, Sarah did. So Sarah won.
I won twice.
So, and why did you win, do you think?
Because I had the tallest block.
Yeah, you had the tallest blocks. And Emily, did you beat Daddy?
No.
Did you? Daddy?
Yeah.
You did. Daddy has the lowest because Daddy's blocks were really thin. You know, how do you think that makes Daddy feel? That Daddy had the thinnest blocks?
Sad.
Yeah, did Daddy really have a chance?
Nah.
No, he didn't. It was kind of all rigged, huh? However, you know, that makes Daddy feel really, really small, but you know, one thing is, this isn't the tallest tower we can build. What's the tallest tower we can build? What can we do to make it the tallest tower we can possibly build?
Aha. No. And then okay.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
And I'll pile up that.
Oh my gosh, what did we do?
Make it higher.
We made it really high, but how did we do that?
We put our blocks together.
We put them all together, and that made the highest tower possible, didn't it? if we even took one small block out, the tower would be taller or shorter?
Taller.
Would it be
Short.
taller or shorter?
Short.
Shorter. The tower got shorter because of this one little block. You know, do you think every little block is important to make the highest tower possible?
Yeah.
Yeah, every little block is important. You can't make the highest tower without every single little block. And you know, one thing about the Bible story that Kim read to us, you know, that I believe about that story is that when Jesus took the bread and the fish, and there was not very many, there was just a very little small bit, and then he passed it around. You know, he only started with a small amount, but I think that a little was added by every person that was there. I think everybody gave what they could. Some people brought fish and brought bread with them, and they gave. And by the time they were done, it turns out that there was more than enough for everyone. Everyone gave a little bit, and there was way more than enough. So that's what I want you to remember. Sarah, can you sit up, please?
Okay.
That's what I want you to remember, is that no matter how much you have to give, no matter how little it may feel, it is more than enough. Can we have a little pinky prayer?
Yes.
Emily, little pinky prayer? Dear Lord, thank you for letting us know that no matter how small we may feel, together we are strong, and that every little person, everything, everybody is important to the whole, to making us the best we can be. Amen.
Thank you, Emily and Sarah and Matt, for sharing that lesson with us in that pinky prayer. Now we are going to turn toward a time for sharing our joys and concerns in community so that we can celebrate together, mourn together, be present to each other's journeys in whatever way is needed. Kelly is going to lead us into prayer time by singing, "O Lord, hear my prayer." And then we will do some candle lighting. So if you haven't already, write any prayer requests that you want to share into the Facebook comments. And then when all the prayers are finished, we will respond with one more verse of, "O Lord, hear my prayer." All right.
Awesome. Anna, before we do that, would you be able to go over the announcements from the beginning? Because Monique was kind enough to point out that there were some announcements that we needed to go over really quick. So that'll also give people more time to go and type in what their joys and concerns are.
That is a very good point. Let me go back to the announcement slide, which I skipped. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. There is a church-wide study of the book White Fragility going on. If you would like to join in, send a message or call the church. I'm sure that is a very, I think Jim Costello is leading that. I'm sure it's been a good experience so far, and it's really important in our growth individually and as a church. There will not be a Bible study this week, but it'll resume the following week on Wednesdays. That's via Zoom. If you need a link, again, please send Pastor Andrew an email or call up the church. Big thanks to everybody who has helped with this service, for sure. And thank you to everybody who has logged on to watch. Let's see, you're gonna find out about the sermon soon enough. Andrew is on vacation this week, so contact the church office with any concerns or needs you have while he is away. Okay, I think that's it, unless anybody has anything else. Let's go back to Okay. All right. Kelly, will you lead us in the song?
Absolutely. Okay. Oh Lord, hear my prayer. Oh Lord, hear my prayer. When I call, answer me. Oh Lord, hear my prayer. Oh Lord, hear my prayer. Listen when I call for you.
Thank you. Okay. Not sure, Kelly.
I was looking through the comments, and I noticed that Elaine said that Mike Fletcher, she has a concern because Mike Fletcher is on hospice. So we need to be thinking about him and his family in this time of need right now. As well as Carol Greathouse commented saying that for the past 10 days, she has been dealing with COVID-19 and she's starting to recover. So we definitely need to keep her in our prayers as well. And reading through as well, Sherry Sampson said that she believes that Allison starts a new job this week. So to keep her in our prayers.
Mm-hmm.
And Luella Cole says that she had a COVID scare this week where she was having fever and aches. So she got a test, but the test results came back today and it's negative. So that's definitely a joy. And I know for me, I would like to put all of our educators in, educators and students in our prayers this week because I start school tomorrow and fortunately my district is doing 100% distance learning. I know that other districts are not, and it's a very stressful situation no matter how you go about it. So that one is, there's going to need to be a lot of prayers this week for that.
Okay. Let me see if there's anything. Light one for Pastor Andrew and his family being out, getting out of the house, having a little vacation today. Hopefully this week will be rejuvenating for him. I was talking to Sylvan Buck last night and we were rejoicing over all of the, how many candles are going dead? Over the abundance of fruit available in the Central Valley right now and how delicious everything is, all the peaches and fruits and melons and everything wonderful coming out of the earth right now. Let's see. I'll light one in remembrance of Congressman John Lewis, who was laid to rest this week. And also with prayers that we remember his legacy, his example of really doing his part to fight for justice for everyone. And in hope that we continue that fight in the ways in which, we can, or however we are called to do that. One candle for all of our leaders as we hope for leadership as we face the crises in this country. And one candle for all of the joys and sorrows that go unspoken, but that we know are heard by God and held even if we don't say them out loud. Please join me in a spirit of prayer as we listen to Kelly sing once more, "O Lord, hear our prayer."
Oh Lord, hear our prayer. Oh Lord, hear our prayer. When we call, answer us. Oh Lord, hear our prayer.
Thank you, Kelly. All right. So, the gospel story that we heard today, the miraculous feeding of this very, very large group of people, is probably one you've heard before. It's actually in each of the 4 gospels, and here in the book of Matthew, there's a very similar story, even just 1 chapter later. This version of the story begins with, "Now when Jesus heard this." The "this" that Jesus just heard is the death of John the Baptist. So this is John the Baptist who, of course, baptized Jesus, who was probably a relative, possibly a cousin, who could be described as a friend or mentor of Jesus. And now Jesus has just heard that John has been beheaded and his head presented on a platter at Herod's birthday celebration, right? Not super great. Plus, the story immediately prior to that one is about Jesus being rejected at the synagogue in his hometown by people basically saying, "This is just the kid who grew up down the street. Who does he think he is?" So when Jesus gets on this boat to go to a deserted place, I'm imagining that his emotional state is not great. We all have days when we don't feel up to the task at hand. Maybe more than average in 2020. With the pandemic going on, you may be expected to be both an employee and a homeschool teacher simultaneously, or to survive without the work and activities and people who mean the most to you. Teachers are having to adjust to new safety and learning plans, nurses and doctors dealing with huge pressure, and businesses are struggling to even stay afloat. So this is a really hard time. And I know that there are quite a few people out there who feel like they just can't be everything that their family, their business, or their community needs. Of course, no one knows what Jesus was feeling the moment he boarded that boat to go off alone. But since he was both human and divine, I wonder if he didn't have some really human voices of self-doubt in his head. Maybe saying things like, "Who exactly do you think you are? You couldn't even save your cousin. What kind of leader are you? Maybe you're just not good enough." Do any of those things sound familiar to you? So Jesus leaves for a deserted place, maybe wanting some time alone to reconnect to God. But he's met instead by thousands of people who have followed him on foot. So you know those times when you think you know what you need, but the universe has other plans? Well, Jesus does not get any alone time, but he does get to reconnect with his own worthiness, I think. Just by being himself, a teacher and a healer for that crowd, he shows what he really is, and what he really is enough. It may be that he can't save a friend from death or convince the people he grew up with to take him seriously, but to this crowd in this moment, he has exactly what they need, and he is exactly who he is meant to be. He's enough for them, and they are enough for him. Next, it's the disciples' turn in the hot seat, face to face with insufficiency. Here they are out in a deserted place, looking around at thousands of hungry people. Now, if I was hanging out with like even 100 hungry people and I had like 1 bag of Doritos and half a banana in my backpack, I would not take them out, right? No way. So the disciples understandably suggest that Jesus tell the people to disperse, but no. Give them some food yourselves, he says. No big deal, feeding thousands of people with no advance notice. So they say, yeah, we have nothing here. We have 5 loaves, 2 fishes, basically nothing. I wonder what might be going through their heads at that moment. Maybe, what could I possibly do for 5,000 hungry men plus an uncounted number of women and children? Does he want me to start a riot offering 5 loaves to 5,000 hungry people? We today have a whole lot of hungry, suffering people looking at us too, anytime we care to pay attention. Persistent systemic racism keeps people of color in poverty, in jail, and in fear for their lives. Environmental destruction drives mass extinction and ecosystem collapse. Violence and climate change are driving people north from Central America to our border, and if they even make it across the border, likely into immigration shelters with inhumane and unsanitary conditions. The problems are so big, and all I have is a bag of chips and half a banana. Jesus, though, doesn't seem particularly concerned about exactly what or exactly how much the disciples have to share. He simply tells them, bring what you have. Jesus takes one of these dusty loaves of bread and gives thanks to God. The loaves and fishes are distributed and everyone is satisfied. It turns out that what the disciples had, what they offered to be a blessing to others, was enough, more than enough even. Maybe the loaves miraculously multiplied, or maybe everyone was just moved to be generous, but either way, people who thought they didn't have enough to give suddenly had enough. And people who thought that they didn't have enough, oh, which one did I just read? Anyways, everybody had enough. Whether they thought they didn't have anything to give or they thought they just didn't have anything in general, everybody suddenly had enough. With each other, with God, with the fruits of the earth, the personal scarcity of that moment suddenly becomes communal abundance. The disciples, the crowd, Jesus, the bread, the land, the blessing, they flow together, carrying gifts, satisfying hungers, and no one, no person, no half-squished loaf of bread, no itinerant preacher, no desolate and deserted place, nothing is excluded from that river of love and grace. They all have something to give. They were all enough, and you are too. I'd like to invite you to look around yourself right now and see where you might notice abundance. Maybe think about your life recently. Where do you see gifts being shared and hungers being satisfied in even tiny and unexpected ways? I wrote this mostly looking at my garden. So what I generally see when I look around is weeds, but they're attempting to cover empty soil and save it from erosion. They definitely have their high points. Some of them are edible. I see the compost pile taking these like super gross kitchen scraps and turning them back into a gift for the ground, for the vegetables next year. It's certainly not a perfect place, my garden, right? Like the zucchini are growing for some weird reason. The pear tree has fire blight. There's aphids on the cucumbers. But reading today's passage helps me remember that I don't have to have all the answers in order to consider myself a garden or part of the garden ecosystem. It's not about giving everyone exactly what they want or even everything turning out perfect or even turning out okay. It's just about bringing yourself, who you truly are, the gifts you do have, the divine love within you, into the flow of blessing and being blessed. 2020 is a year that could easily be defined by scarcity. scarcity of hugs, of justice for those too long abused, of work, of community. But there are also so many stories of people bringing their 5 loaves and 2 fishes to the table. Whether that's protesting, putting a Black Lives Matter sign in your front window, making face masks, trading puzzles, planting an extra row for the food bank, or asking to help, or asking for help and allowing others to bless you. In the June issue of the Church of the Brethren's Women's Caucus newsletter, Annalisa Gross wrote about the hunger crisis in the United States and the world, which is being exacerbated by COVID-19. She wrote about her dreams of using church property to feed and house people, and of diverting resources from things like maintaining lawns and mostly empty buildings to allow for what we have, what might not seem like much, to feed our communities in new and creative ways. I know that Pastor Andrew has in the past year been floating some ideas about using the acreage that the Modesto Church of the Brethren sits on. The idea of a playground and sports fields has been brought up. Another possibility is an affordable housing project in partnership with Family Promise. If you know me, you know that my dream is always that everything be a farm. But I do know that International Rescue Committee, which works with refugees, has been considering for years starting a refugee-centered garden. And hey, like maybe a little piece of that property is something they could use. The land the church sits on was once tended by Yokut Native American tribes. Then it was colonized and tilled, eventually made its way to the Bacher family and to the Modesto Church of the Brethren. So I wonder what you all think about what its next gift to the world might be. There are so many possibilities, even though when you look at the lot, it looks like right now it's a lot of dead grass, but there are so many possibilities for what we could do with that and what it could do itself. Even if it feels like at this moment you don't have a lot of energy or ideas to give a project like that, I would love if you would keep in your prayers the land that the church sits on, and pray that we all recognize and recognize new ways for us to release that abundance to the community. It may not seem like our small steps and limited energy will ever be enough to quiet voices of self-doubt, much less to actually solve any of the world's problems. But luckily, I think that if you look at today's story, it's not up to you to have all the answers right now. It's only up to you to pay attention to the flow of grace through your life and your world, to offer what you can, to give thanks, and to be blessed by what you receive. When you share from the deep love in you and receive from the deep love in everything, you may find it being unexpectedly and imperfectly and so beautifully far, far more than enough. Amen. Okay. Please join us in our closing hymn, May the God of Peace Go With You. Friends, you were made for this earth, and this earth was made for you. Go forth to love and serve it, knowing in your deepest heart that you are blessed from the beginning of time. In the name of the one who called all things good. Amen. Okay, I don't know how to end Facebook Live. Stop, share. Where's my Facebook? I can't, oh, I gotta exit that. How do I turn it off?
I think you have to go back onto the Facebook page. Gotta love this.